Suppose the first warning sign is when you walk into work and the abject panic and terror that grips you makes it almost impossible for you to walk down the steps and into the place where you're supposed to go and do the job you're supposed to do. The next warning sign, of course, is when you're in the classroom and you can't teach because you can't talk, because you can't breathe. So you have to get up and leave the room, run over to the bathroom, splash some water on your face, and attempt to regain your composure before you go back in the room, because you're supposed to be the adult who's in charge, who's in control, who knows what's going on, who has the curriculum, who has the content. And these poor kids, they're there to learn. You can't crumble in front of them. But that was happening every single day. So much so that I wound up in a meeting, one of many, many meetings to come with my supervisors. You see, what I'd gone and done was I'd gone and started a school. You can do that. You can start schools. I did it with colleagues of mine who were once my friends, who now somehow, through some alchemy, had become my bosses. And they took that job very, very seriously. And so because things weren't getting done in the way they expected them to get done, they dragged me into a meeting, these 2 or sometimes 3 people, looming, big white faces, big eyes, eyebrows, hair. And they would say, and they did say, Sam, it's really not going very well. We brought you along because we know you're a good teacher, but you're fucking the whole thing up. This is a disaster. And the language would then become a little bit more drastic, and they would say things like, you're letting us down. You're letting yourself down. You're letting the investors down. You're letting the board members down. You're letting the kids down, which was the real piece. That was the real moment, right? That's the real dropping of the anchor into the sea, when you really know that you are adrift and you are missing the mark. And so I sat there and I listened to this and I panicked more and I hyperventilated more. And I would go home and I would panic and I would be in it and I had panic attacks and I couldn't breathe. And my wife would say to me, what can I do? How can I help you? And I would say, I don't know. This is the worst I've ever felt about this. I've never experienced this before. And she said, this is anxiety. And I said, I don't get anxiety. And she said, yes, you do. This is it. You're looking at it. And I said, oh my God, you might be right. And so what I wound up doing was what normal people do when this happens, when they actually face the facts about their mental health, is I went to get some help. It took a lot of work to get there, but I did. And so I got medication. And I got a new therapist who actually knew how to help me and knew about anxiety, knew what I was talking about. And I went back and I said to them in yet another meeting, one of many more meetings, this is the situation. I have anxiety, tremendous anxiety, and depression too, and it's really affecting my work product. And you see it, and I see it, and I don't know, I'm thinking about maybe taking a leave of absence. This is not what I want to do, but I'm really not my most effective right now. And you're right, I'm letting the kids down. And they looked at me, and they looked at each other, and they looked at me, and they looked at each other, and they said, because they're always in control of everything and knew the answer to everything, and were the best at everything, and so they were going to give me the right answer then too, which was, we don't care about any of that. Just do your job better, okay? And off I went to do my job badly. So badly that there were many more of these meetings, as I mentioned, to the point where there was a night when I was sitting on the floor of my living room rocking back and forth because I was so panicked about going to work the next day. And I couldn't even go get the medication from the pharmacy, so my wife had to go get it. And she said to me later, she said, I didn't know what to expect when I got back home. Were you going to be there? Were you going to be alive? So it was really as bad as that. Let me tell you a little about the meetings that I was dragged into. Meetings where I was told that I was doing absolutely everything wrong. I was teaching the wrong content. I was using the wrong curriculum. I was using the wrong metaphors, honestly. I wasn't doing classroom discipline very well. I was letting the kids down, I wasn't bringing the school up to where it could be to this pinnacle of excellence. So I was forced to come to these meetings to help me learn how to do curriculum better. And in one of these meetings, and this is a true story, in one of these meetings I was talking about a class I was teaching. It was a 20th century world history class. And I thought, it's 2018. Let's talk about modern day fascism and how it's creeping into eat up our democracy. And here's this book that I think we should read. And the response was, well, if you're going to bring that book into the classroom, you need a counterbalance. And I said, I'm sorry, what? And she said, the curriculum director, she said, yeah, you need something to sort of balance that out, the anti-fascist book. So I said, and I was joking, okay? I said, with an ironic twinkle in my eye, you mean like Mein Kampf by good old A. Hitler? And her response was, yeah, something like that. So that's where we were with that. Eventually, what I wound up realizing was the only way out of this was to quit, which I did. But as things got worse with my supervisors, I really wound up having a much better time as a teacher once I sort of let go of all of the expectations that I wasn't actually reaching. And I sat down with kids and I told them, eye to eye, I said to them, I wouldn't go through all the details of my mental health problems, but I did say on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis, here are some of the things that I deal with. Here are some of the things that cripple me. What about you? And slowly but surely, they came to gravitate towards me and talking about their problems. And lo and behold, this would be a huge surprise to you, right? They were getting that same kind of thing from their supervisors and their teachers and their administrators. And they would come to me and they'd say, here's this fucked up situation. Can you talk about it with us? And I was all very happy to, of course, maintaining that, delicate balance between being an administrator and their friend, being a teacher and their friend. But the thing that got me through was being able to share with them my experience in a real honest way. So what cured me, at least, of my own anxieties, which crippled me at my job, was actually talking about them with my students and having them be honest with me about what they were going through. And that, when I finally saw those warning signs and dove into them instead of running away from them, is what saved me.